Welcome to the Dear Doc podcast, where we will discuss the business of running a dental practice with a panel of experts. Now, your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower.
Hey guys, this is Doc Huffpower. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Dear Doc podcast. I'm here as always in my studio in Alvin, Texas. I'm actually in Studio B now. I just built one over the last 2 weeks because I've been so damn bored. And today I am joined by one of the guys I consider to be an OG in the dentistry business, and that is Bruce Baird. Bruce, how the hell are you, man?
I am doing good. I'm doing good. My face doesn't look good. I've been doing a little chemotherapy on my skin, and so I look like the living dead or whatever that show is. But I'm not out lecturing. I'm sitting at home. I don't think anybody's seeing me except on podcast webinars and talking to you. So we're good.
Absolutely. So Bruce, you were diagnosed with skin cancer a while back, and this is just something that you're doing parentally to make sure that things don't come back.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it's called Effudex, and it's kind of an ointment that you put on that gets rid of all the little actinic keratosis, but boy, you can kind of look like you're pretty sad. I'm just now almost finished. You do it for 3 weeks, and I never have time to do it, but this has given me time to actually do it. So it's working, and boy, I look rough, and the kids are going, "Are you okay, Doc?" I go, "Yeah." So I'm good. Don't worry, it'll be gone in shortly. But anyway, it's good.
It's good to hear you're on the mend, man. So, Bruce, I've talked to you previously, and I tell just about everybody who asks that you had a huge influence on the way that I practiced dentistry. Whenever I got out of school, I was told that you can't be a comprehensive dentist and make money, that you had to basically treat to insurance, and it seemed like a waste to me. And I got a hold of, I believe, one of your videos from a friend of mine, and I watched it. Man, just the way that you did your chairside presentation, the way that you did your linking with the patients, it really reached to me and grabbed me and said, you can do what it is you think you can. So I kind of started down that path, and it helped me to become successful.
That's awesome.
So again, thank you. And I've previously said that, but I like to make sure that everyone knows you give credit where credit is due, and you are a huge influence on the way that I do things. So, folks, I would like to take this opportunity to actually have Bruce walk us through his story. You guys all know my story. You know about my practice. I started in 2013, a year after I graduated from scratch startup. You know that in February I sold my practice for a nice chunk of change. And, it's been good, and it's been good to me. So Bruce, talk to us about how you built your practice and the things that went into that. Tell me all the growing pains.
Yeah. I had massive growing pains. I was fortunate. I graduated from dental school in 1980, and interest rates were 21%. That's what mortgage rates. Right. So it was rather crazy at that time. And I went in the United States Army for 4 years. It kind of allowed me to, to practice dentistry, pick up my skills and pick up my speed and that type of thing. Although being productive is not really about speed. It's more about doing more dentistry. But, right. And I opened up my practice in 1985 here in Granbury, Texas, a town of about 6,000 people. I always joke I was the worst boss.
That's one of the things that's always been so impressive to me, and really, honestly, that's the reason why I felt like you were the guy to show me what I needed to do. I opened in a small town as well, and everyone told me you can't do that in a small town. So
you can do it.
Granbury, Texas, 6,000 people, and I guess there's who else is out there who's killing it? Cuthbert. Stephen Cuthbert is out in that area too.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So you guys are these pioneers in the middle of Beaufunk, Egypt, and you're doing comprehensive, full mouth dentistry. Tell me, did you just not know any better?
You know, I realized that, I wanted to go where I wanted to go. I wanted to go where I wanted to live. And I had, I felt like the demographic was right. They didn't have a lot of dentists here. I loved the golf courses that are around. It was on the lake. I mean, there were a lot of big pluses for me. I grew up in Mineral Wells, Texas, which was not a giant metropolis either. So I didn't really want to live in Dallas, Fort Worth, but I really wanted to live out in the country because that's kind of how I grew up anyway. And then when I opened here, you know, we did a good job. We built a new practice. We started seeing massive numbers of new patients. Just ridiculous. They were building a nuclear power plant down the road, and I had my membership plan that was 35 years ago for anybody that worked at the nuclear plant, and offered them a discount and cleaning, the whole bit. So this isn't new concept, the membership plan, although it's become hot the last 2 years.
And that's the thing, though. And that's why I always say that you're one of the OGs of dentistry, because a lot of these things that now are becoming the things that everyone does, you originated these things.
Yeah, we did it back then, and we had little cards made up with the whole shooting match. It was great, and patients would pay on a yearly basis, and would get a discount, and so that helped us. But truthfully, I was really, and we did $1 million in our first year in production, 1985, and I joke I took home 32,000, which would be an overhead of like 96.8. I was also pretty much a boss hole. I mean, I was horrible to work for. And one of the things that I've realized that now that I'm not at the end of my career, but I've been around for 40 years. And what I realize is that I was under such stress from a business perspective. I didn't know how to run a business, and I was under so much stress that it was very hard for me to be myself. Even with my employees or with patients, I was always stressed out about money, and I got all these employees, and where's the next check going to come from? And I was not a good. I learned my dad was a Marine aviator, so it was my way or the highway, and I became that guy. I was the micromanaging, just boss hole who, as Mark Costas calls him. I mean, that's just who I was. And I joke that everybody in Granbury, all 6,000 used to work for me at one time or another, but, and it may be true, but, and then I started to learn, and I always joke that God has a sense of humor because he gave me 4 daughters, and I had to learn to speak a different language with them. And I think once I understood my business better, my stress level started to go down, and I became a better boss and a better leader. So the way I look at things now is first get your business, and this is a great opportunity during this time to get your business right and to understand your business so that when you go back, yes, it's going to be stressful, but there's unique opportunities that the people who see this as an opportunity are going to do extremely well. The ones who don't see it as an opportunity are just going to get run over by the tsunami that we've been hit with. And my preference is to grab a surfboard. So I'm gonna ride the wave. I'm not gonna get turned over by it.
Absolutely. Any time of domestic upheaval is always an opportunity. You just have to find the opportunity in it.
It is, and we've been through 2000, the dot-com bubble, went through the 2008 financial crisis, the housing bubble, and now this. And personally, I think this is probably going to be worse than anything we've seen before. But that doesn't mean we can't be successful. As a matter of fact, I believe that we can still produce this year exactly what we did last year. And with that thought process, that's the way I look into this. So we lost 30% we lost all production for maybe 2 or 3 months. Well, what does that mean? Well, I've got 6 months left to make that up. And those who do are going to be extremely successful, and they'll have ways of doing that. And
now I have to say, Ryan Dunlop is on here, and he's asking if Full Arch Masters is going to help you to. Ryan, stop plugging yourself. I'll plug you later. I hear he's got one hell of a great course, and he's amazing human being too.
He is. He's doing some amazing stuff out in Fresno. And I'm retired, but I went out and went through his entire program just a couple months ago, maybe a month ago, before all this started. And golly, he told me, he says, you're going to go back to work. I said, well, I really am. I'm really considering it just to
Yep.
do digital dentistry. I love it.
I was actually supposed to be in that class, but some things came up and I couldn't go. So,
We had a crazy time out there, but it
oh, I
was
know. He
fun.
gave me crap the whole time.
Oh my
He
gosh.
was
Well, we
messaging me.
learned.
Hey,
This guy knows what he's talking about
he
for
does.
sure.
He really does. He's got a hell of an operation. So you've brought us up. You've been through in your business. You kind of had to learn yourself, and at that point, once you've learned the business, you were working on your leadership skills. So
Yep.
you've gone through a few a few recessions, not really a depression. You've been through the Great Recession. Where does
Yep.
this bring us? At the point where you are, where Bruce Baird looks at himself and says, "Okay, I'm the problem. Let me fix this." When was that? How
Oh
far
God.
into your journey after starting your practice in what, 85, right?
Yep. 85 is when I started private practice. It was probably around 96, 97 when I started to become a leader and understood my business. It was good timing because of the dot-com bubble, but it had an effect, but it bounced back very quickly. And then we had the '08. And I tell people now on webinars and podcasts that I'm on, I said, I made a huge mistake in '08. I was fed up with the stock market. I was fed up with all of that. And I just felt like, we were just sheep being led to slaughter by these guys on Wall Street. So I sold out. I liquidated everything. I liquidated all of my 401ks. I liquidated everything. And because we lost about half of our savings in that time frame. So of course, if I would have just stayed still, I would have tripled my money in the next 9 years. But that's one of the mistakes I made. However, I took that revenue, I took that money, and I bought some real estate, and I invested in a couple of companies that I started, and so it turned out okay. But I always have to tell people, hey, I think the market will come back. We are going to be okay. It just may take a while, and it depends on where you're at in your journey.
So on this journey, which is funny because I was about to use that word. How can their traditions? Ryan, I don't understand your question. So on this journey, you learned a lot of things. You got better as a boss. You got better as a business owner. I like to say your CEO hat and your dentist hat because they're very different mindsets. And
very
so
different.
At some point you built up, and I believe you sold your practice. Talk to me about that. Was it Heartland, if I'm not mistaken?
I actually sold my practice twice. I sold my practice back in 1990, 5 years after I opened, 91, I'm sorry. And because I had built a significant business by then. We were now doing $1.5 million, almost $2 million a year. And my partner and I, it wasn't that we didn't get along. That wasn't the deal. It's just, I was going to all this CE and I was going to all the continuing ed, and I wanted to charge. I've been to Pankey. Been to Dawson and been, all these places, Mish, and I wanted to charge higher fees and use a higher end lab to do my work. And he said, and so I wanted to raise my fee. And he said, well, I'm going to raise my fee too. But he didn't really want to use any other lab except the one he'd been using.
Right.
And there was just that to me was kind of an integrity issue. And I didn't feel good about. So I just said, okay, I'm selling. So I sold. Long story short, I bought it back 2 years later. They basically gave me back the practice. It was one of those situations where it was a great opportunity for me to come back and continue what I had started. But then in just a couple of years ago, I actually sold to Heartland. That was 9 years ago. I was 55 years old, and Obamacare was coming around the corner, and we had a lot of employees, and I was worried. And my buddies over at McKinney, Marvin Berlin, and those guys sold, and they had been through PDA, Productive Dentist, and of course they got a really good deal with Heartland, and they came to me, and I sold. And people said, at first it didn't feel right, but I look back over the 9 years, they were a great company. They still are doing things, I think, the right way. I have, I would have made more money by staying
I
around for
don't
9 years.
know. I don't know if you got death threats, but you certainly got a lot of hate. It's kind of funny. I haven't gotten quite as much since I partnered with MV2, but
Yeah.
definitely a lot of people who are detractors of that model. I personally think it's the model of the future.
Yeah.
I don't know that the private practitioner will ever disappear, but I definitely think there's safety in numbers. But.
Yeah, I think that that's true. I mean, there's always going to be, I think, the super groups that have, maybe specialists or maybe just some super GPs in there that are doing it. This kind of like the way that Ryan's doing
Ryan
it out
Dunlop is
there.
doing exactly.
Yeah,
You hear that? Hey, you should be paying me for this, Ryan.
that will not, that's not going to go away at all.
Right.
I sold basically out of fear, and that's, again, do I think it was a mistake looking back today? Do I think it was a mistake? No, I don't think so. I'm going to take just one sec. Bring back questions. I got to get my charger for my computer.
So, guys, Bruce Baird will be back in just a couple of seconds for this conversation we're having. Go ahead and start dropping some questions now. And as we're navigating this story of how he built his practice up and the lessons that he learned, go ahead and drop your questions in there. If you've ever wanted to talk to one of the grandmasters of dentistry, most certainly one of the grandmasters of business of dentistry, then
Sorry, guys.
This is your opportunity. I was saying bad things about you. It's okay. So anyway.
That's okay, but I've been on podcasts and webinars all day, and I forgot to charge my computer. I'm good. Excellent. Sorry about that.
So Ryan asks, how can a traditional office, 3 to 4 ops, 1 hygiene, no digital, PPO heavy, how are they going to be able to adapt to this post-COVID environment? What are the smartest moves for this summer?
Well, first of all, I think it's going to be extremely difficult. And the reason being, just looking at sterilization techniques and new things that we're going to have to do, I don't think the turn in the room in 3 minutes is going to be the same. No. That, this aerosol, whether it's a high-speed handpiece or whether it's a ultrasonic or piezo, I mean, this is COVID time. So absolutely, we're going to have new ways of doing things, and it's going to change. And I would much rather personally be in a fee-for-service environment where I'm seeing less patients and longer procedures than I would be charging 40% less and having to do 50% more for sterilization. There's going to be a lot of practices that are going to fall by the wayside. And
I'm predicting about 20% of the dental practices out there are going to go under. And I'm basing that on some real numbers that I've seen. I've also seen the CDC recommendations for the new sterilization techniques. And believe me, some people are going to be very, very unpleasantly surprised by some of the things they're recommending. So
yeah, but you're going to need to do it to protect your own life and your family's life and everything else. So
now I'm hearing 2 camps here, and I tend to fall into the no surprise here. I tend to fall into your camp about fee for service. I'm hearing a lot of people say, I'd love to drop insurance, but gosh, this just isn't the time. I'll hear, how can I abandon my patients? Which makes me think that person needs to learn a lot more about business, because you can't provide for your patients if you're broke. You just can't.
Yeah.
And people, let me tell you right now, and Bruce, I think you'll agree with me, there is no nobility in poverty. None.
I agree. So you can't do the kind of dentistry you want to do. You can't do the kind of dentistry you want to do. And what we're going to find is that, patients, I mean, from my perspective, we know things are going to change. We know that people's FICO scores are going to drop. We know that conventional financing is going to be more difficult to get. We know that even people with cash are going to hold on to that cash. We know, and so, we're going to have to come up with different ideas and different ways of doing things, for sure.
You actually, you've got a product right now that I use personally myself, which, hold on one second. I thought I turned those messages off. You have a product that I use personally myself, which is, of course, Compassionate Finance. And I think at one point I had $250,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know you looked at the numbers. I think I had $250,000 in finance charges just for
Absolutely.
patients. So that is definitely something I want to cover with you. And folks, before everyone starts screaming, although one of Bruce's companies may in the future sponsor my podcast, I don't have any financial arrangements with them at this point. So,
right.
And can you confirm that?
Absolutely. No, you just been using it and loving it. That's why.
Absolutely.
That's why
I asked you on today, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel as if those there are several things I want to actually highlight that you do. Abilla, I think, is going to be huge for a lot of practices. And I got an email from you guys saying something about some free service or reduced cost service. And I want you to talk about that because I think that's huge because people don't have their teams out there working right now to collect that AR. I want to talk a little bit about how people emerge and schedule productively. And I also want to talk a little bit about compassionate finance because I think that those two pieces are going to help people to recover from this. And honestly, it's what I use to help me to go fee for service. And if people are wanting to do that, I can't think of a better time. Personally, myself, I don't live in a world of fear, though, and a lot of dentists do. They're deathly afraid that they're going to lose these patients, but they're going to be making pennies on the dollar on these patients. You know,
that's no question. Yeah. I mean, one of the things about doing financing, I mean, especially in this particular time, like I say, there are going to be less people that get approved for the other types. Absolutely. And then people need help being able to pay for it. And what we know after doing over 300 million in notes for dentists all across the country is that 95% of people pay. There's 5% that are going to hose you. And well, what happens? Well, you've got a couple of thought processes. One process is, let's just say I have 8% of the people default and not pay.
Right.
We know that interest off the others offset risk. And we even know that the worst of the worst, the ones who are in the below 600 subprime category, they still pay, but they default at about a 17% rate, which people will say, well, I'd never do that. Well, the people who are saying I'd never do that, I would never do a loan where I have a 17% default. Imagine signing up for a PPO where you have a 40% default the day you sign up.
Absolutely. Or more.
Makes no sense business-wise, makes no sense. But they're so worried about having a 17% default. But let me explain. If you have a 17% default, what you have is 83% of the people paying full fee, right, not a discounted fee, full fee, and paying at 17.9% interest. Oh, well, my patients wouldn't want to pay 17.9. The people who are under a 600 credit score are used to paying a 30% interest rate. They're used to going to the pawn shop and getting charged, 5% a month. These people need help, and who's helping them? Nobody. And so all of us across the country are trying, there's this many people that need to be helped. This is the number that get helped and that everybody's marketing to. They're the ones who are prime and have money, but no one's doing anything for these. So it's a joke.
A lot of guys, if you know that I am doing a Facebook Live, Glenn Vo, stop messaging me. Anyway, so we've got to get together after all of this COVID stuff has calmed down and share a bottle of Crown. So
you bet.
It was good times, man. So anyway, I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole and take you off of your story, but I think that some of these things that you've put into place are just really great tools for people both now and in the recovery. And I do want to get to those, but I don't want to harp on them, guys. This is not a sales pitch.
Yeah. I mean, the thing right now about compassionate finance, it's not the time right this minute. Right. It will be the time when you start back up. Right. But one of the things that we've done with Abella, which is basically an account receivable software, is we've waived all the fees. There is no cost to do it. And what it does is it automates your collection process. And people will say, well, this software does that and that software does this. And I have this, it does text messaging. No, Abella does use text messaging like 9 other companies, but the other companies don't have a web portal that they allows them to pay and make monthly payments and do whatever. We're collecting 53% of over 90 without any human interaction. So if you have
really
your
huge right there.
team, yeah, if you have your team sitting at home, they're not calling people to get collections. And then I've had people say, well, you don't want to do collections. That's kind of mean during this time. Trust me, people who are on unemployment that you laid off from your office are making more money than they were working for you.
Yep.
And all the school teachers are making their money. Everybody, there are people that still have money and they still want to pay their bills, but you have nobody calling them. You have nobody working it.
And when you did have someone calling them, Bruce, they weren't home because they were working.
Yeah, they were working. That's exactly right. And so this is the way. 88% of people said they wanted a different way of paying. This is a different way. And patients can use a credit card. They can use their HSA. They can use a debit card. They can do whatever. And what we find is people are paying. And so bottom line is it used to have $1,000 setup fee. It's gone until July 1st. We had $289 a month or $299 a month. And that's not a collection fee. We don't charge anything to collect. It's just a set fee of $299 a month. And it's helping your team that's not working now, but it helps them even when they are working. Because what we know, most practices has one person that works insurance and accounts receivable. 83% of their time is spent on hold with insurance companies and talking to them. 17% is called collecting. And the bad part is they always go to the same list to do the collections, and they always work top to bottom. They never get to the $81 or the $52. They never get to that. And what we find is by automating the process, patients love paying that way. They don't want to have somebody call saying I have an $81 bill. They don't mind seeing it and say, yep, I'll pay it. And it's all done online. So we've waived the $299. So it literally, there's no obligation. If you decided you wanted to use it, until July 1st. Come July 1st, you'll have to make a decision. Hey, guys, I love it. Or, guys, I don't want to do it anymore. We don't care one way or the other. But I do know that the docs are using it now and that we've signed up just in the last 2 weeks under this deal. They're picking up $4,000, $5,000 a week, $6,000 a week in collections, $25,000 over the month, that they wouldn't have had. And this is helping them in their business. And I know our product's good enough where I'm not worried about doing it for free now. We'll do it. And free has to be qualified because there's a processing fee of 2.5%, just like you're using credit card. Yeah, it's a merchant services fee. And I can't waive that because otherwise I'm paying for you to use the product. And that wouldn't make any sense. But otherwise it's no cost to you.
You don't want to pay for us to use it?
No, hell no.
All right, man. So all that aside, Brian Turani says hi.
Hey, Brian.
Right. And Glenn says Bruce is the baller, not a baller. And Ryan Dunlop said Bruce is the Wolf of Dental Street. So,
oh no, what a great movie.
It was absolutely that. And Smarts Guys in the was that the different movie? I don't know. Anyway,
yeah.
So back on track. So we got to the 80s, and you've got
we got to the 80s
interest rates, and so a lot of people are whining and moaning because of the interest rates whenever they open their practice. Now, these are some of the lowest interest rates in history.
Ever.
So they're certainly lower than when I opened my practice.
Yeah, my buddies that got out of school in 1980, I went in the Army, and interest rates were down to the 9 to 10% range when I got out of the service, but they were paying 18% interest on their building loans. So, hey, things have changed. It's Absolutely. a great time to be a dentist. I just did a program for the dental students at University of Texas in San Antonio, and I said, hey, it's the platinum age. Then this hit. I still think when we come out on the other side, there's going to be certain things you can do to either benefit greatly or fall behind. And,
Absolutely. Well, and
all we're doing is looking for going ahead.
There's definitely something that's to be said for that. Anytime there's a huge upheaval, we're talking about there being opportunities in all of these social upheaval events. And the opportunity almost always takes the form of doing things in a different way or doing things in a way that everyone said couldn't be done. Because there's only two possibilities there. If people say it can't be done, it's either difficult to do right, but when you get it right and you nail it, it is an absolute crackerjack money cow, cash cow. And the other thing is everybody's right. And it really can't be done.
Sure.
You got to figure that out for yourself. But that's the nature of these events. Look around yourself. Find out what no one's doing. Do it.
Well, I'll share one thing that I think would help the listeners. And it is, something, and you've been through Productive Dentist Academy, and it's the scheduling. And scheduling is what makes the difference between somebody being highly productive and not being highly productive. It's not how fast we do the dentistry. But this is a unique time, Doc, because, when was the last time you had 80 patients or 120 patients that don't have an appointment that used to, that you're going to need to call and have them come back and get on your schedule? We've never had this in history. Here's what I'm recommending to my docs is this: make a list, all your patient names that you had to take off the schedule, phone number, email address, and how much work they had to do. So maybe one was a 3-unit bridge plus a couple of fill-ins for $3,500. And then this was 2 crowns, and this was a crown. What you're going to have the opportunity to do, and what I don't want you to do, is I don't want you just to tell your team, okay, girls, or I say girls, I shouldn't be saying that, but okay, team, call everybody and then get them on the schedule. No, don't do that. You direct where you want them in that schedule. And if you've been used to doing 400 an hour or 3,200 a day, I want you to go back and I want you to do 8,000 a day. And I want you to say, because you can do it, it's not about time, put the productive procedures in. And my expectation is in 1 month, if you've been doing 70,000 a month or 80,000 a month, this month, when you start back, if you plan it properly, you're going to do 160,000 in that month. Now that's going to eliminate 1 whole month that you had when you were off. Okay. And do the same thing. You're also going to have a different mindset on same day dentistry, because you're going to have pent up demand. There's going to be emergencies. There's going to be people who are broken, and you're going to need to fix them. That's going to be same day dentistry. Give them some financing options and let them have that. And the third thing is, you're going to have to be the guider and the director of this. If you want to come out, my goal for this year is going to be, it's not going to be a 5% growth over last year because we've lost a couple of months.
Right.
But I certainly believe that every dentist can do exactly what they did last year, even though they had 3 months off. What that's going to show you is, okay, well, maybe I need to take some more time off and change the way I work, because I worked Mondays and Tuesdays for 15 years and I was able to produce. So it's not about the time you've lost.
I still haven't caught up with you, Bruce.
Well,
I'm on
it's not
days.
about the time. It's not about the time you lost. It's about what are you going to do the time you have. And if you can go in clear-headed, knowing exactly how to do that, and that's what we're working with our docs on now.
And I'll say one of the most useful things that I ever got out of PDA was just a single sheet of paper. I think you know the one I'm talking about. It's the one you hand your receptionist. I've actually reworked it since then because there's a couple of things I added and changed to kind of tweak it. But you hand it to your receptionist, and basically, guys, it's a decision tree, and it says, if then do this. Hey, you schedule high production slots. You schedule only these things in there, and you schedule it by the amount of money that you make. And I think a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their head around scheduling by productivity because it's just not the traditional thing that people do. But man, if you've got 4 or 5 high production blocks in your day, and the rest of it is you have set times for emergencies, because emergencies should always have a set time, because otherwise they completely screw up your flow. You have to make sure that you think about it. And Bruce has done a lot of that work for you. To be honest with you, as I said, I've used it, I've modified it, but the base of it all came from Bruce. I mean, he gives you.
Yeah, well, everybody modifies, I did too.
Right. So you guys give out actually an Excel sheet that says, at least you used to, I don't know if you still do.
Yep.
Basically, it's however many number of ops you have, how much do you want to make a year?
Yep.
Okay, we'll schedule this much. And what's amazing to me is that, again, harking back to our conversation earlier where I said it's because people haven't tried to do it the right way. That's why things are impossible. This is one of them. The thing, oh, you saw that, did you?
Oh yeah, I'm getting hit.
Yeah. He messaged both of us. Ryan, stop it.
I know. I'm getting hit with messages just like you.
So the thing is that I didn't understand scheduling productivity. And I was probably one of the most pain in the ass clients whenever I went to you. I am, don't tell them, but it was hard for me to figure it out. It was hard for me to believe it. But whenever we just put it into place and we used the templates that you told us to use, it was like magic. It's like all of a sudden people just wanted to be guided. They're like, forget this. Oh, can you come in the morning? Can you come in? When can you come in? None of that crap. Okay, you've got this time, and this time. Because one of the things is controlling the schedule, right? Well,
right.
It's baked into this. It's baked into scheduling by productivity. There's so many neat things that you guys have actually encompassed in this one system. So I think that's why it works so well. Anyway,
well, thank you.
I'm done being a fanboy there, but
it's counterintuitive, and that's what makes it so difficult. It's not what we were taught. It's different. Just like compassionate finance, doing your own financing, very different, 180 degrees different. I like doing things 180 degrees different than the way we were taught, because if I can find a way to do it better and it's different than we were taught, well, then I got something to talk about. So, that's what I like doing.
It's funny. There's as you know, I talk to a lot of different people. We run in some very elite circles with the people that we know. And it's funny how much of Christopher Phelps's persuasion is built into the scheduling system.
Absolutely.
Also, and he would agree completely with what you just said about 180 degrees opposite. A lot of the things that you do are Paul Homily. So I great classes today. Again, folks, if you get a chance to, Christopher Phelps, shout out to you. Amazing classes on how to talk to your patients, on how to convince them to do the work ethically, and Dr. Homily as well. But it's all baked in. If you're going to
Paul was the first guy that ever really taught case presentation skills. Right. And Paul and I have been friends since 1985. We were implant guys together when he was still practicing, and we were. And I've been to his not only speaker's course, but been to a business management course he did back in like 87. And it was in Charlotte. And Bob Salvin was in the room. And we were talking about productivity, and really interesting. Those are things that all shaped my career.
That's another really, really nice guy. Bob.
Oh, gosh. Bob. Great friend.
First time I met him was over at Todd Ingles' implant course. And he walks in the room like he's just kind of a nobody, real humble, sat down, shot the shit with us at lunch. I didn't even know who he was until someone mentioned it. I was like, wait a minute, this is the Salvin guy? Super, super nice guy. But and that's what, honestly, guys, that's what you'll find.
Great. Buddy.
Ryan, just water today, man. Just water. Let me see here. Ryan says something really important here, and I'm going to actually take it a step further. He says, don't forget there's going to be 2 to 3 months of pent-up demand for dental services when we open. Should we be cutting back on advertising or doubling down? I'm going to go a step further. People are going to be having conditions that degenerate, and there's going to be more than just 2 to 3 months pent-up demand. I don't know if you guys have been looking at the Reddit boards or looking at any message boards on the internet, but people are going apeshit saying, I need to get into the dentist, but my dentist won't see me. So once we open these floodgates, it's going to be huge. And, Megna Dasani says, I've learned so much from Bruce.
Megna, we're learning from you now.
Aren't we? She's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, speak to that. Advertising now, double down on it, wait. And I think probably the answer is a combination of the two, but it would require a crystal ball and knowing when we open.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that, from my perspective, the first 2 months or 3 months, you could fill productively with people you have in your own waiting wings, that need to get in to see you, plus pent-up demand of patients who you hadn't seen but need to see you now. So you're going to have that. However, I would not stop marketing at all. I would tend to start marketing. The way we've done it, we've always done educational marketing, and I've done that for years. Our average new patient comes from 60, 70 miles away. So we're used to having people from Dallas come to Granbury, Texas to have their work done because their perception is that we're the place to come, and that's the reality. Their reality, it's the place to come. They may pass.
You just said a mouthful right there.
Yeah.
Those are golden secrets right there.
Yeah, they may pass 150 CERAC machines to come to us because through our marketing, we have built a philosophy that, hey, we are the place to come. And that's what our marketing is about, education, education. So what I would personally be educating about for maybe the first 2 months when I got back is what are my newest sterilization techniques that I'm doing in my practice. We now have an inversion system. I don't know what it is, and I'm doing a lot of research in that area, and I have a lot of friends that are. We're going to put together something that is a package that our office will be able to differentiate themselves from the regular practices. And I think that's going to be important because people don't want to come and, to an area that they don't feel like is safe. And the other part of this is, and I think it's going to be, not only is that a marketing opportunity, but I also think that it gives you that unique selling proposition that you're doing something that no one else is doing. Even if everyone else is doing it, if you concentrate on marketing that, you're the only one that's doing it. I use this kind of a deal at PDA, and you've heard it before, but I said, how many of you have fiber optics on your handpiece? Mm-hmm. And, everybody raises their hand. I've had fiber optics on my handpiece since 1980. So, but the question was, do your patients know that you have fiber optics on your handpiece? And everybody goes, well, I don't know. Well, why would they? I tell them, look at the lights on this. Can you believe this? Isn't this cool? Well, it's the same thing with our new sterilization techniques. It's the same thing with anything that we do that's new. We want that to be exciting. We want that to be something that's different and new and great. And I think, yes, you're going to go back into your regular marketing. I don't think you have to spend quite as much initially when you get back, but you also want to go. Social media is huge. Facebook, talking to your patients, sending them correspondence. These are all things that you're going to do. And in my book right now, that's marketing. So it doesn't necessarily have to be high-end radio for the first month or two. But if you've built a reputation of being on radio, if you've built a reputation of being wherever it is, I wouldn't eliminate it. I might lower it a little and then ramp it up. So as your productivity ramps up.
Good points. Good points. What are your thoughts on self-made educational videos and things like that are put out on your website, on Facebook, emailed to your client list, your patients, for those of you who don't think in business. So what do you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, what I do, we've done, yeah, I mean, we've done it now. You can do it very, very effectively and very cost effectively, but being able to send out to your database of patients, hey, I miss you guys, just something simple as, man, I miss you guys. I cannot wait till we come back to work. Here's what we're doing that is going to differentiate us from the way it used to be. Lives have changed. Things are different. But the more you can communicate to your teams and the more you can communicate to your patients, the better you're going to be. They have confusion, and what they need is confidence. They don't need additional confusion. They need your confidence right now, in my opinion.
Let me see if I can channel Bruce Baird. Hey, guys, it's so difficult for most dentists. Basically, they go to high school, they go to college, they go to dental school, they get out. This is their first real job in their life. They've never done anything else. It's kind of hard for you people to actually talk to a patient. It's kind of hard for you to associate with a patient and find anything that you can link with on them, things that you have that's a commonality. You have just had a huge life-changing event that's exactly the same as they did. So this is something you should be talking about. You should be talking
Couldn't
about.
agree more.
To me, it's common sense. Of course, I learned from the master.
Yeah. And I did too, Paul Homley, Paul, and I can go down the list of all the guys, that have helped me in learning to communicate better. I know that some people are natural good communicators, but even those folks need training. Even those folks need structure, and that's what we do. That's what
Absolutely.
we do.
So Ryan wants to know if you think this is the death of the traditional waiting room.
Oh man, that's a tough one. I don't think so. If I look across at 80% of the practices out there being some type of a PPO type practice, there's no way that you're going to be able to see that volume without having a waiting room. I think it's going to be very different. I don't know how it's going to look, truthfully. I've been talking to lots of people, infectious disease people. It may be that that's the end of it. That goes back to the old LVI days, or my buddies that had a bell that would ring at the door and they had a camera in front, and they would there was no waiting room at all. So it's been around before. I don't think we're going to end up there, but there'll be some combination of that possibly.
I'm actually getting excited thinking, what can I do with that square footage? But no, I agree with you. I think the reception area is here to stay. Honestly, I want them in there because that's where my, as Christopher Phelps calls it, his love me wall. That's where all of my publications are, and, awards and junk like that. I want the patients sitting there looking at those.
Sure. Great opportunity.
Absolutely. Oh, Jeff, I think you may know this guy, Jeff Busky something or other,
Busky. Hey, Jeff. How are you, buddy?
Tell everyone a little bit about Jeff, and let's get back on track with our previous discussion.
Okay.
So you sold your practice, you got your practice back, you rebuilt your practice, you took on this associate. I believe you'd had a couple before that didn't really work out for you, and then you found this guy. So talk to us a little bit about that transition.
Oh, I wish he was on, because he would tell you how we really met. But bottom line is, we met, and we became. He became an associate, eventually became a partner, and Jeff is probably one of the most clinically gifted clinicians that I've ever been around. He's a master dentist, and it's been fun practicing with him for the last 15 years. He also is doing a new course called Dental Syndicate, which is working with some of our docs that we've been working with on the lifestyle, the financial and the freedom that you can have, and all those. Absolutely. And I'm really excited for Jeff in that endeavor. So
he's
sure.
Good people. I tell you what, I don't know if I ever go gray, if I'm ever going to look quite as good with that gray goatee thing he's got going on there.
I know. Well, I'm the old guy, so I can look however I want. I mean, I come in here and I've got pox all over my face. Like I say, the living dead right now. But no, we built a practice, and have specific, what I call net zero marketing, which is we market our business and we do it at a certain percentage, 8%. And the bigger our practice grew, the more we had to market, and the more we drove our overhead percentages down, which people say, I don't have enough money to market. Well, we know now that PPOs, all they are marketing companies. They're not really insurance companies.
I have said that for years, and people don't understand it, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. And not only is it marketing, it's the most expensive, least effective form of marketing.
Horrible.
Hey guys, check this out. I'm going to send you some patients, and you're going to work on them, and you're going to basically pay me 40% of whatever they pay you.
That's right.
That's all it is.
Right. Yep.
Had the pleasure of applying the principles of PDA since 2004. It simply works. Jeff, yes, it does. So, Bruce, how did you get into all of these other businesses? So I'm probably the last person to ask. You and I have discussed a couple of things I'm doing, but for me, it was a natural progression with just the connections that I made here, and also with traveling whenever traveling different CEs and things like that, meeting people, and just being kind of a gregarious kind of a person. I know you to be an incredibly gregarious kind of person. We got to hang out a good bit over in Jamaica.
Absolutely.
And so I imagine that probably had something to do with it. The fact that you always seize an opportunity whenever you see it. But tell us, how did this develop? How did you go from being just, quote, just a dentist to teaching other people with PDA and then compassionate finance and now Abella?
Somebody, and I can't remember who it was, it might have been my dad, but I don't know, told me I was probably, I don't know, 17, 18 years old. And I've always been a tinkerer with, with any method of doing something. I want to find a easier, but my dad said, learn how to do something better than anyone else and then teach others to do it. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm better or that I feel like I'm better, but if I come up with a new way of doing something, then I want to share it, and that becomes a business opportunity. And so that's kind of how it all started, in my mind. It was like always tinkering with things. It's like when I was in dental school, we had to wax up a crown on a typodont tooth. And I go, what a waste of time. This is my mind thinking, what a waste of time. So I came up with a stamping, a way to take 2 plastic cups using alginate and actually stamp guys' crowns out. Now, I would charge them like $5, and I would say, all right, hey, bring it over, $5, I'll stamp you a crown out. So it might have been $1. I don't know. I might have done it for free. I don't know. But I would stamp there because you had to wax up a number 14. Boom, I'd stamp it out. Well, I made stamps for every single tooth in the typodont.
Nice.
I also learned how to solder bridges when we were casting gold bridges. I learned how to solder. I could solder anything. So guys would have a miscast after waxing something for a week, and then they have a miscast.
I'll take care of that for you.
Yeah, I got it. So I'd get my loops and goggles, and I'd get in there and I'd solder it to look beautiful. So I don't know. I'm always trying to, any system that's out there, I believe there may be a better way. And that's all the way my mind thinks. So,
well, you're also a very entrepreneurial kind of guy. I don't know about you. My first business was in the 6th grade. I actually, I lived, if you remember back in the early 80s, there weren't a lot of environmental controls. And we had a Porta-John place right down the street from us that was dumping shit in the ditch. And by shit, I mean literally, it was shit. Yep. So clover is an indicator species, so it mutates extremely rapidly. So we had 7, 8, 10 leaf clovers. So what I would do every morning before I go and get on the bus is I go pick a handful of these clovers and I pluck off all the leaves except for 4, and I'd sell them for $5 a piece at school. My first business. And,
well, I did. I'll tell you my third grade job on the curbs. You know how you'd spray paint the number on the curbs? Right. This is back. Well, I would go around and I got stencils and I got spray paint. Third grader. Actually, I was 4th grader. Mm-hmm. And I went around and it was $4 or $3 for one side of the curb, and it would be $5 for 2. I went around, it was a summer break, and I went around, I probably made $200 in a day. That was back when my dad was not making that much money flying helicopters. And so I thought, this is so good. I'm going to hire 3rd graders to do it for me. Then I had quality control issues, and I had people calling my dad, and that was the end of that business. So right. I've had lots of businesses,
it's the scaling, Bruce.
Scale. I'm thinking I was going to be,
so I'm ignoring Jeff and Ryan right now. They're asking between the two of us how many businesses we are at least part owners of. And a lady doesn't tell.
Well, I've had as many at one time as 9 companies, but I've narrowed things down to 5 companies. So
is that wholly owned or is that partnerships?
Wholly owned on 4 and on 3, majority shareholder of 1 and partner on another. Excellent. Yeah, Vicki McManus and I are partners with Productive Dentist.
I don't think Bruce slept for at least 3 days after the idea of compassionate finance. He had run about 1,000. Dude, I am not kidding. Bruce, no offense, dude. Bruce and his damn spreadsheets, man. He can talk to you. He gets excited about spreadsheets. And
I do. That's my porn.
I wish that I wish sometimes I was that meticulous. It's hilarious because I'm picking on you here, but you get giddy. Like, hold
I
on,
do.
I've got a spreadsheet for that. Let me show you. It's
Let me show you.
it's a hell of a good skill though, you know?
Well, it is. It is. And I'm actually, while we're off right now, not doing much, I'm going to be taking a course. Uh, I'm going to be taking a course on before I'm getting dinged lit up. So,
Oh,
but
thank goodness.
anyway,
I thought I was looking around. I was like, what's coming
no, it
through
was
on my
me.
side?
You know, it just is what it is. You know, I enjoy spreadsheets. I like it to say it's my porn. I get pretty excited about it. So
Oh, no kidding. Oh Lord. I made a joke about that. The other guys, please, if you are easily offended, just tune me out right now. So the other day I was making a joke and someone said, well, with all this downturn, what are you investing in? And I said, I think I'm going to invest in the porn industry because everybody's going to be sitting at home. They're going to be bored.
yeah,
And then
that's right.
I swear to God, I got an email from a buddy of mine who I'd been talking to about it. And it was actually, there's this online porn company, I guess, that's offering free lifetime memberships or free 3-month memberships to everybody who wants them, who's
Oh
been
my
affected by COVID. I went, oh my God, I was just joking. But
That's crazy.
oh
That's
man, it
crazy.
really is. What is the
Oh,
biggest
my
flaw that most dentists have on the business end? Oh man. Huh. I'm going to let you go with that one.
I mean, the biggest flaw is we just don't have experience. Many of us have never had any experience. We didn't have a good course on it. The truth is, you know, I'm basically I'm about 150 pages into a book that by the time this is over, I will have finished. But it is really start to finish, kind of how to set up the business, how to market, how to do all those things.
Which book is it?
At least in my perspective and the way that I like to do it. But and it'll be a kind of an easy read.
Oh, okay,
Truthfully,
good. You're writing it. Okay, that's good.
yeah.
I thought
And
you
truth,
were saying you were reading one, and
no,
I
I'm
said,
writing it. And the truth is, dentistry is not that hard of a business if you just understand a few things. And you know, and I think the most important thing is not. Um, not being guided by your accountant getting you your information 5 weeks after the fact. Most dentists, that's what they do. You know, I got my P&L. You know what? I don't give a crap about depreciation. I don't give a crap about all those things that accountants talk about.
mm-hmm.
I want to have QuickBooks that is a cash in, cash out accounting, that I have a chart of accounts. I know where every single penny in my business is being spent. Every single penny is budgeted with a budget to actual. And I'm able to track and learn my business by doing that. And once I've got that down, the rest of dentistry is pretty easy because now you can take care of your patients because you know what you're doing. I call it predictive analytics. I'm predicting what my revenue will be. I'm predicting what my expenses are going to be. I'm predicting my own personal income. And I'm able to predict that so accurately. Jeff will tell you if he's still on, but Jeff will say, I mean, we would plan a year out and that year we would hit our targets the whole year. Why?
Yeah,
Because
but
we planned.
there's a phenomenon there that you're not speaking to, and that is the fact that if you make those predictions, then you have a goal. People,
That's
I
right.
think, work without goals far too much. If you don't have a goal, you're not going anywhere. You're just spinning your wheels. You know, you have to
That's
pick
right.
a direction and drive. And, you know, for me, I think the biggest failing that dentists have as businessmen, and this was my failing as well, and so maybe I'm projecting. I believe that most of us want desperately to be good physicians. We want to be desperate. We
Right.
desperately want to be practicing the skills that we were taught to practice, and we feel a failing whenever a patient can't pay, and so we decide we cut our fees so that we can do it. I say a lot of times when people ask me that the only reason that most dentists are still in business is because we make enough money that we can be really shitty business people. And that is coming to an end because those
That
margins
is.
are getting smaller and smaller. And the
That
other
is.
thing is that people, as I said earlier, they confuse poverty and nobility. And I can help more people the more money I make. I can help people in my community. I can help my team members to grow. I can develop new skills. I can take these amazing classes like Ryan Dunlop's Full Arch Master's course. But I found
You
out
can do more charity cases. You can help more patients. You can do more charity cases. You can do whatever you want.
I'll tell you, Bruce, one of the big things that I do, and I always have done them, and I don't even remember why I started doing this, but basically every year I find either one or two people, and we do what's called a Christmas miracle, and we do a complete full mouth transformation. And it's usually not fixed, but it might be fixed this year. We'll see after I take Ryan's course. But usually it's removable upper and lower denture, people who have had just a horrible, horrible experience. I had this one lady, the first one I did, she, and I'm not gonna tear up on this, and she had not left the house in 8 years.
Yeah.
Her son had died on his birthday, no less. And I still get, every November, I still get a message from her that says, thank you for changing my life. Because she came to me and she had no money. She had no prospects. And really, she just wanted someone to talk to. And I know you've been in that position too, where they don't even know what to do. And I talked to my team and I said, look, it's going to cost us $9,000 to do this case. But I think that's worth it. I think if we get a media waiver from her and we tell her story and we do before and afters, that it'll be a very good thing for her. It'll be a good thing for us too. We'll get great publicity. And you do get some people coming in, oh, hey, hey, do mine for free too. But basically just set the expectation. Hey, every year we do one case and we'll put you in the drawing for the next year. And just have some discipline. But you're right. Sure. Charity cases, they build your reputation in the community. They make you feel good about what you do, and they remind you why you're doing it.
Yeah.
I think there's almost nothing more powerful.
Yeah, for me, we've done charity cases that we did on TV that we did use in our marketing. And I've done charity cases where I just talking to a patient and I realized they couldn't do it. And look, let's just do it, and it's when you're extremely profitable and you're extremely productive and money money no longer becomes a concern. That's when you can become extremely generous and you can do whatever the heck you want and you don't have to worry about it. And it lowers your blood pressure. You're doing the right thing and it's fun. So that's what else can you do in a business even better than that. So that's helping other people.
I have to say, Jeff brought something up and he's absolutely spot on. Targets are better than goals. They're more meaningful. They're more specific. I absolutely agree, Jeff. And I'll take that correction. I should have said targets. So whenever my wife and I run businesses very differently. I think she's better at it than I am, to be truthful. But what she does is she actually budgets her giving every year. She actually has a dollar amount, and every month she actually puts dollars into a fund, parts of the profit. And when that fund's out, it's out. It's done. There's no more charity that year. And I think that what you're tapping into there and what you're talking about is something that all of us do, but without the discipline of having that spreadsheet, the Bruce Baird spreadsheet, So tell us a little bit, do you actually budget yours like my wife does, or do you, do you just kind of
personally, we run a budget and we do, charity giving is part of our budget. Church giving, that's part of our budget. Right. In the practice, I call it retained earnings. And anywhere a new practitioner might put nothing in retained earnings or 1% because their overhead's so much higher. But as you go through the phases of your practice, that number can get up to 6 to 8% of your budget you're actually putting in retained earnings. All businesses do retained earnings except dentistry. And then let's just say you're doing
that's probably because dentistry is not a business, Bruce.
Yeah.
Let's
just say you're doing $100,000 collections a month and you're putting 8% in a retained earnings account. That's $8,000 a month. So as you do this and it becomes part of your day to day, when it comes time to buy a laser, you're not buying a laser and going and asking somebody what kind of financing do you have. You just say, I'm going to buy this laser. When you pay for something out of your pocket, guess what? You tend to use it.
Yep.
I paid for the Periolays back. I've had it for 18 years, 17 years. And I paid back then, it was a lot cheaper, but I paid out of my pocket and then paid myself back based upon usage. And believe me, I used
did you do a rental agreement so that you could,
I did. I did.
Nice.
I
So
did.
explain that to, I like to try to do a little tax tip every time we do an episode like this. What Bruce is talking about right there, rental income. Let's talk about that and how you rented this thing to yourself to pay for it.
Well, you definitely can set up an entity that buys equipment, and you buy that equipment and then you lease it. You can lease it back to the company, and there are some tax advantages to that. We also do the same thing with real estate. We have a real estate company, or we did, that owned the building, and so we got benefits for that. And so there's a lot of different ways. And what I will say, a minute ago I said something negative about accounting, but I'm not negative. I've worked with Kane and Waters for 25 years, and they help me in those areas. I don't ask them to help me in how I run my business and my practice, but what do I do with my money? What's the best way for me to save money? I work with them on those, like set up a business, do this, do that. That's their expertise. Same thing with tax attorneys. I like talking to people because they know a whole lot more than I do about that. Having said that, don't tell me how to run my dental practice, because I know day to day, hour to hour, how I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to make at the beginning of the month. I can pretty much tell you within 3% how much revenue I'm going to take out of that business based upon targets, based upon commitment, and those types of things. And that's the way to run a business of any kind, but in dentistry in particular, it gives us that opportunity to do that.
Fantastic. All right. So, and one last thing there. If you have a CPA that is a taxpayer, you should perhaps get a CPA that is a tax planner.
That is a taxpayer.
No, that's a tax planner.
Oh, tax planner.
Most people have CPAs that are basically just people who file their taxes for them. If you don't have a CPA that's meeting with you at least a couple of times a year, and I would say every 2 to 3 months, then you really need to look for a better CPA, because you need someone to help you build wealth. You don't need someone to help you pay the government.
Yeah, the CPAs do a lot, and I'm very, very fortunate. I have. I like the fact that they're a specialty group that works primarily with dentists, because they have a lot of insight into the dental industry and the dental business, and they come up with new ways and new ideas as the new tax rules come down. Whereas I also had a local accountant when I first opened my business. Didn't know sheep shit from cottonseed about dentistry. And, bottom line,
I have never heard that one. I am stealing that now. Sheep shit and cottonseed.
And bottom line is, I got hosed, and every year it was like, oh, you owe extra 40,000, you owe, and then, when I got with accountants that knew what was going on, we planned ahead. It's the way to do it. Don't, hey, my brother-in-law's an accountant, I think it's a good idea. No, pull your head out of your ass.
To me, it's not a Bruce, maybe this is just the way I do things, and you may have a different way. At least once a year, my estate planner, my CPA, and my lawyer are in the same room, or at least on a meeting like this.
Yep.
And we talk about my future and what I want to accomplish, and each one has input because they all know things the other ones don't. I'm always utterly amazed at how much tax information my lawyer will bring in.
That's right.
So it's amazing to me. And that's
similar.
That's my dream team. What do you do? Do you do something similar?
You've got to have it. Oh, I've got the exact same thing. I've got our planners, and I've got our accountants, and I've got our attorneys. So, work together. I want to pay as little tax as I can.
Absolutely.
I'd rather do with my money what I want.
That little gray line, I want to walk on the gray line. And I want a CPA who's going to defend my walking on the gray line and keep me from walking on the wrong side.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I've worked with different guys with different companies and all of that, but I like the fact that you don't have to know everything. You just don't. There are people who know a lot more than we do about all those different aspects. So I'm definitely there.
So Bruce, this has been a great conversation. I think we've been on here, let me see here, for an hour and 24 minutes now. So
Wow.
I am going to, I'm going to recap real quick for you. Guys, Bruce has 3 companies right now. Once more, I am discussing with one of those companies, not necessarily with Bruce himself, but the company, about sponsoring my podcast in the future. I do not currently have any financial interest at all in those companies, but I've used them myself in my practice. Frankly, they are, and Bruce's teachings, honestly, are what I credit my success with, or what I credit for my success. If you would like to build a successful practice, they're great tools. They may not be necessary, but they worked for me. So those are Compassionate Finance, PDA, or the Productive Dentistry Association, or Dentist Association, and also Abilla. I have not used Abilla yet, but everything I've heard about it is amazing. Bruce, where can they contact your companies if they want to know a little bit?
Actually, MB2 is putting Abilla in, so all across their system.
Smart guys.
You can go to info@abellaar.com and send an email if you want more information. You can also go to abellaar.com and just look at the website. Compassionatefinance.com website, or Productive Dentist Academy website.
Oh, I'm sorry. I always say association every single time.
Oh, no worries. No worries. So, and those are the 3 companies. We actually have a full marketing company with Productive Dentist Academy. We have coaching, in-office coaching. We have coaches all over the country, and we have the seminars that we do, the productivity workshops that we do. And we're going to be adding a lot more online education with all the stuff that's happening, and I think that's going to be a big plus for us also. So I'd love to see you guys in person and get you using. Like I say, the Abilla right now, Chris, you might as well get some collections on it because it's no charge to sign up right now. So that's a great opportunity. It really is.
2% merchant fees, guys. So don't get upset with Bruce. They're not making any money off of this. They're just a pass through. Okay.
It is.
And frankly, it's kind of like that crack dealer on the corner who gives you the first pipe for free. Bruce knows his shit's good. So he's counting on the fact that you're going to get it for free. You're going to love it, and you're going to continue with it. I suggest you try it. So, Bruce, real quick, if you would not mind putting together a post about the Abilla stuff, we can actually post it directly into TBOD. And I'm going to twist your arm a little whenever we go off of air and see if I can work out some evergreen deals for Compassionate Finance and PDA as well.
You bet. We'll figure it out. We'll do it.
Do me a favor. Do like this. I want to see which one's weak. Oh man, this is gonna be tough. All right, guys, you have a fantastic day. Thank you for wasting an hour and a half listening to the sound of my voice. I hope that this has been beneficial for you and that you have taken something away from this that you can use in your practice, and maybe, if nothing else, a sense of hope, because these are tough times, guys. Bruce has been through several of these downturns. He's got some great advice. He survived through it. I hope we help some folks.
Yep. We made it.
Thanks for.
Welcome to the Dear Doc Podcast, where we will discuss the business of running a dental practice with a panel of experts. Now, your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower. Thanks for listening to the Dear Doc Podcast, your source for the business and legal questions associated with your dental practice. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dear Doc Podcast on all major platforms.